You know who I am?
Anything you say. Anything you say.
It's official.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, this week, politically wise in the big news, one thing I really saw was, they're still going on and on about the Biden having documents, classified information, blah blah blah. They found 3 places so far that he's had these top secret documents, whatever. But they're just going on and on about how he attacked Trump with the DOJ and the FBI and blah blah blah, and tried to claim that he had documents. But the thing is Trump was president. He did have the power to declassify them documents, and the archives, they were working with him, or the archives group, they were working with him by telling him how to build a like a lockbox or whatever to keep them in until they came and got him. Now apparently the DOJ and all them, they've all known about these documents for a long time that Biden has had. However, they hadn't gone in and gotten them. They were waiting until after the election results. Boy, I wonder why. So with Trump not committing a felony, but Biden has committed a felony, before he was, they should have investigated and taken care of this problem before he was elected, because he wouldn't have been able to run for presidency. The simple fact that he was a VP. He was not the president at the time he had took these documents home. He stole them and he took them home illegally. That is a crime. He cannot declassify them as a VP. But whatever, they're just going to look the other way, blah, 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 And then the media is all like trying to ignore the whole thing. And some of them are even trying to cover for him. Like them idiot women on The View and shit. Blah, blah, blah. They're so dumb, them women on The View. God, I can't believe that show is still on. I mean, they make shit up all the time. And talk a bunch of bullshit. They've been debunked. Everything they say is debunked. Everyone knows that they're full of shit. But whatever. Doesn't matter. In the end, supposedly the GOP is going to investigate them all and blah, blah, blah when they make up their committees. I'll believe it when I see it. But that's the only big thing I saw going on, is they just keep talking about the stupid-ass documents that, our illegitimate president has. If you still believe that, the Democrats and the media and all that, the far leftists had nothing to do with the election, then you're a retard. You're an idiot. You're flat out dumbass. Because it's been proven several times. But anyways, moving on. What I want to talk to you about is I just got done watching the last episode for this season of, you know, that retarded show Willow. And it was extremely cringe. That last episode, oh my gosh. Here's the thing. Disney's been having the worst shows ever this past year. And Willow, it takes the top. Even over Amazon's Rings of Power. Willow is the worst television show to come out. For a number of different reasons. I've talked about it in other videos. And so has other people. Other YouTubers and such. Anyways. This last episode was cringe. It was so bad. You know, Sasquatch couldn't use the armor. He just has to give it to Kit. The feminist cunt bitchy princess. She puts it on, which it's made for a man. They tell it in the story of one of the earlier episodes. It's made for a man. She puts it on. Oh my gosh, it fits a woman now. 2, it's magical armor. It is not a weapon. But yet, all of a sudden, she can bring forth a sword out of it. Wow. She has this big fight scene between her retarded brother and defeats him with the magical armor. Where she couldn't fight worth a shit before. Now all of a sudden she's all powerful, you know. Get the fuck out of here. It was kind of crazy that, you know, Laura Dannon, she, you know, she's got to face off the so-called old crone, is what they're calling her. This evil sorceress. She's only had like 3 weeks to study magic. She knows nothing about magic. She's constantly belittling and berating Willow, telling him, oh, I know everything. I can do whatever. Blah, blah. Just give me that fucking wand and I'll destroy them all. You know, and then automatically she knows how to do all this fucking magic. After 3 weeks of fucking training, seriously. And the reason why I say 3 weeks, because they literally mention that in the show. 3 weeks of training, and she knows everything about magic. Get the fuck out of here. You know, she shits on Willow, and then she turns around and she's all like, I need you, Willow, help me, blah, 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 I can't beat her. You know, and then Willow has to telepathically tell, you know, oh, you're okay, you can do it, go for it. Fuck off. The other thing that drove me crazy was, you know, the prince, who literally can't fight, can't do jack shit. I don't even know why he's there. That Kit supposedly is her fiance. Like, what the fuck, you know? The dude can't do nothing. And then all of a sudden, well, apparently he's been training to be a sorcerer too. And he takes his little magical flute and he's able to do sorcerer shit too. Whatever. And Willow's all like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You're going to be a great sorcerer. Really? Anyway, yo, Chrome, you know, oh, he's a man. He tried. He put everything in it. He just can't do it. And then bloop, obliterates him to, you know, the underworld dark realm where the worm is. The worm that's causing all this trouble. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Whatever. Anyways, supposedly he's gone. You later find out he's not. He's actually... The worm wants him to lead his armies or some shit. I don't know. It's dumb. And then one thing you might notice is that in the original source material, in the film that came out in the 80s, Laura Dannon, as a baby, had red hair. Now, I've seen kids with born with red or blonde, and it turns into red or blonde hair as they grow up. Or it just gets dark and turns to a darker color. Now, in this show, she's got bleached blonde hair as an adult. And then you know, a late teen, whatever. And then, as you're watching the episodes, all of a sudden it's changing to an orange, bright orange red. I guess it's supposed to signify that she's actually a Laura Dannon. So they're changing her hair to red eventually. Towards the end, she ends up with orange red hair. Whatever. It's so dumb. Anyways, that episode was just god-awful cringe. It was the worst one out of the whole season. And then they don't even go looking for, you know, the prince who is to become a sorcerer. They just leave him there and they take off. Oh well, fuck our friend. Who cares? Let him die. And they take off. They know he's alive. Willow says it. But whatever. They leave him there and take off. Get the fuck out of here. And then after the post-credit scene, you know, they show these 3 books. It says volume 1, 2, and 3. So you know they already plan on doing 2 more seasons of this god-awful show. I mean, I would say it's the worst of the worst. It really is. And the only reason why it's worse than even that god-awful She-Hulk is because Willow, they took it and just completely destroyed it. They didn't even use the source material. They sprinkled a little bit of what happened in the movie in the TV show, but they completely rewrote the whole thing to this woke feminist bullshit. But whatever. Worst show ever. I can't believe they're doubling down and going ahead and trying to do another season. It doesn't surprise me. They did it with Batwoman and other TV shows. They just keep pumping out these fucking retarded shows. Anyways, I flat out do not recommend Willow, especially if you're a fan of the original movie, because you will be pissed beyond your wildest dreams. It fucking sucks. Okay, it's complete trash. Moving on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, movie holics. Moving on to your B-movie reviews. This week is Sci-Fi Week. Now, I have two older sci-fis. I don't know what it was about the 90s, but for whatever reason, the very late 80s and the 90s, they were all into these, doing these constant, like, cyborg or robot movies. Like, all the fucking time. There's a bazillion of them from the 90s. Anyways, I picked a couple of them to watch. And the first one we're going to talk about was done in 1989. It made about 1.2 million. It didn't do, like, really all that great. And it was called Robot Jocks. Now, this starred Gary Graham. You might know him from Kung Fu: The Legend Continues or Alien Nation, the TV series. And then the female lead in this was Anne Marie Johnson, a black female. Now, the basic story is, in the future, after a nuclear holocaust, several people still survived after they got their act cleaned up. Instead of fighting wars with armies and men, they decided to build these giant robots. And then they would have one-on-one competitions all over disputed territories. And whoever won in the robot fighting one-on-one, they would get that nation would get that territory. Now, you have two main nations. The biggest nations, there were others, but there's two that were the big ones. I forget what they called. It was like something to do with communism. Almost like a Russian type nation is what it was like. And then the other one was, of course, your American version nation. I forget what they called it. They had two different names for them. Anyways, during the movie, there's a dispute over the country or the state of Alaska. The commies want Alaska, and the Americans are fighting for it to keep it. Now, there's this one particular guy who fights for the communist nation, and supposedly after like 10 fights, these robot jocks, they retire. They're done. That's usually the contract if they don't get killed, and they get this like huge life pension, blah 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 blah.
You know who I am?
Well, they're on their last battle, the American guy Gary Graham and this Russian dude, and the Russian dude just flat out wants to kill Gary Graham and win the last battle, or their 10th battle. And Gary Graham's on the same board. He's won 9 in a row, and he's about to end on his last one. Well, they get in a big fight, and of course, something happens to where why in the world you would have spectators out on the battlefield to where they could get hurt makes no sense to me. But they have like these bleachers with spectators. But supposedly they sign up for it. They know they're putting their life in jeopardy. But yet he still tries to save them. And he ends up getting a bunch of them killed. But it's the Russian guy's fault because he wasn't supposed to do something. I can't remember, like long range weapons or some shit like that. And he did it anyway. They have referees that referee the fight, but they ignored all that and told him that they called it a draw. So now they're supposed to fight again. Okay, in comes the newbies, which is Anne Marie Johnson's character. She's a newbie. They have these test tube babies that they genetically alter to be robot jocks. And she happens to be one of them. They're the new generation of robot jocks, supposedly. Anyway, she wants to fight so bad to prove that, that they can do it, the newbies can do it, that she takes out Graham's character with a sleeping agent. Now, Gary Graham's character is called Achilles. The bad guy is called Alexander. And Anne Marie's character is called Athena. Anyway, as I was saying, she knocks him out with some gas or a sleeping agent and tries to take off in the robot to go fight Alexander. Of course, she loses, and Gary Graham comes out on the field and takes over. They've already declared that, Alexander won for the communists, but then he ignores them and slaps them out of the way, the referees, and then they turn around and say, okay, the Americans win, you default, blah, 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 because you won't get off the field. But then the two just say, screw it, they're going at it. They're going to fight to the death, blah, blah, blah. And that's what they end up doing till the very end. They blow each other's machines up, or robots. And then they're, on the ground beating the crap out of each other. And then at the very end, Gary Graham says, oh, you can live. You can choose to live. Blah, blah, blah. We don't have to kill each other. And then they do this stupid fist pound with a thumb up thing, which they call crash and burn. And that's the end of the movie. Literally. That's the end. Like, they both choose to live. And it's a saying in the movie. They call it crash and burn, which is a reference to another movie later on that references this one. There's also another subplot where, the Texan guy, there's a guy named Tex. He's an old robot jocks too. He's supposedly the only one that won 10 fights in a row. But apparently he'd been working for the commies as a spy this entire time. There's a Dr. Magato or whatever, this Japanese dude who does the weapons for him. He knows somebody had been selling the weapons secrets to the commies. He figured out it was Tex. Tex came in there and killed him. Now, this same guy is in the movie later, the next movie as well. The Japanese guy. Anyways, the movie was silly, but it was cheesy fun. It was done by MGM. You know, it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't horrible. It was just cheesy. You had some decent actors in this movie. All the actors were fairly decent. So it made the movie move along. And it really wasn't a bad story idea. I liked the idea, the concept. So, if you don't mind a little cheesiness, you know, the graphics ain't going to be CGI'd. More like claymation kind of shit. Otherwise, if you can get past that, then I highly recommend this movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. It is actually a pretty decent movie. Now let's get on to your next one. Now the next one is called Robot Wars. And it switched from MGM to Full Moon. It's supposedly... Full Moon tries to claim it as a sequel to Robot Jox. But honestly, it literally has nothing to do with Robot Jox, period. You may have heard of a director and writer named as Charles Band. He was the one who did Robot Wars for Full Moon. He did a lot of stuff for Full Moon. Anyways, he tried to make it like it's a sequel, and it's not. It has nothing to do with Robot Jox. But, you know, he sprinkled a little bit of similarities in the movie. Like the Dr. Murato guy, the Magato guy or whatever, you know, the Japanese dude. He's in this as well, but he plays a completely different character. General Soto or some shit like that. You had a couple decent actors in there in this movie. It's got Barbara Crampton in it, which is, you know, the scream queen of all time. I think anyway. You have to be doing a lot of B movies, especially horror flicks, and she pretty much did that, or has done that, still does, actually. She usually don't do A-grade list movies. She's always done B movies. And that's where I consider a screen queen. But, you know, she's done other stuff than just, you know, horror flicks. But that's mainly what she's known for. She's in this, so it makes it decent. Now, the main guy... The main actor, I just couldn't stand. I couldn't stand his sidekick. They were both retarded. They were horrible actors. If it wasn't for Barbara and the guy over the corporation or whatever, running the corporation, I would, you know, this movie probably would have really sucked. I mean, it was okay for a B-rated flick, but it wasn't really that good. Like I said, Barbara saved it. But anyways, the story basically is you have the you have nations fighting after a Holocaust again, but they're still fighting in this one. They've just built major gigantic robots to ferry along passengers from place to place without getting killed. The robots are like protectors to protect the passengers. And that's what this one corporation does. They build these giant robots to get the passengers from territory to territory without getting killed. And you have these nations that are fighting. They call them, one of the groups is, you know, like the central, they call them centrals or centros or some shit, like I can't remember. But it's, you know, like Mexico, Caribbean, you know, South America, that kind of shit. And of course you have the Eastern Front, the Asians, and then the European Front and Australia. You have several, they're still fighting. But anyways, the General Soto or whatever, he pretends like he's an ally. They're supposed to be allies with America, but then he turns on it. He wants to steal the robot because their robots aren't as sophisticated as the Americans, so he wants the new robot and take it back with him. Well, he wants to steal it. Well, Barbara Crampton is with a reporter, and they figure out, you know, there's an old underground bunker near there where they're at, and come to find out there's an old robot there, an older model, a prototype. And apparently the main guy and his sidekick, you know, the sidekick's great-grandfather is the one who hid it there, blah, blah, blah. So they go down in there and they get the old prototype and they stop Evil General Soto, the Japanese dude, from taking the robot. End of story. It was, I don't mind full moon movies most generally. I mean, yeah, most of them are cheesy, but they're fun, campy, cheesy movies. This one was barely passable. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't really that great. If I'd only watch it if you're a really hardcore sci-fi fan. You know, I give it a thumbs up and thumbs down. Now later on, Charles Band does another movie called Crash and Burn. Again, it really has nothing to do with robot jocks, but he does use stock footage from robot jocks in the movie Crash and Burn. I have not watched Crash and Burn, but apparently he did it with that one too. But like I said, these movies by Full Moon have nothing to do with the robot jocks. That was an MGM movie, even though they tried to claim it did. No, nothing. Alright, anyways, that's all I have for you. This again, I forgot to mention it was done in 1993. Like I said, it's a 90s movie. But with most Full Moon, they all went to DVD or direct to video or whatever. So you didn't get a box office number for it either. Same thing with that Crash and Burn. I haven't watched it. I don't know if I'll ever watch that one. But anyways, that's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions of B-rated or underrated movies that you think I may never have heard of and would like to watch, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below, and I will get to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you just been told.